is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right. We are back here on the program. And there he is, Manny Navarro. How you doing, baby? You doing good?
I'm doing great, I'm enjoying my final couple days of vacation here, getting ready to drive back home to Miami. And, yeah, life's good, brother.
You're like in a log cabin. Have you? How many deers and antelopes have you killed already? How many are you stuffing them right now? Is that what's going on right now?
That's what I'm doing, brother. Yeah. No, we've seen some deer. We're up here in Blue Ridge, Georgia, which beautiful area. I love coming up here with the family every year, every summer.
Wabbit.
Yes, and a lot of deer. Haven't seen any bears. Last year we got a couple of bear encounters. This year no bear encounters, but yeah, beautiful log cabin, my brother.
Do you tiptoe around and say, "Be quiet, I'm wabbit hunting"?
I don't. I actually don't. I don't even own a gun. I don't go around shooting any of these animals or anything like that.
Me neither. I'm not. That's never been my thing. I can't. Yeah. I can't do it. Actually, there's no way I could stand there and kill a deer, bro. There's no shot.
No, beautiful animals.
No shot. I would feel like I would feel terrible for the rest of my life. It would haunt me in my mind for the rest of my life. It would be a memory that I would not want to have ever in my life that I did that. Oh my God. It's just, yeah. And it's not nothing against you guys out there go hunting. It's just not my thing, dude. I'd rather take care of an animal than listen, unless it's attacking me, then, then obviously,
self-defense.
You can't do that. Honey, I married an axe murderer. You got to kill her. You know what I'm saying? You got no choice, Like, I knows this song. Oh, I love her, but I had to kill her, or whatever that song is. I love that song. It's such a funny song. Anyway, is there any truth that you currently have the turnover chain there at the log cabin? Now that Mario has discarded, which, by the way, I commend Mario on that. It's such a great move, because nothing pissed me off more than watching some bonehead celebrate a turnover and you look at the scoreboard and you're down by 25. Yeah. And I can't imagine Mario Cristobal standing there watching some clown celebrate when they're down by 20. He would lose his mind. And no, wait, I know I'm never going to see a guy dancing and smiling on the sidelines while you're losing too. That's other things that I use. To me, that's what I loved about getting rid of the me moment of that. You know what I'm saying? The me moment should be your teammates praising you for that turnover, your coach telling you that's a hell of a play. Later on in the week, when you're watching the film, in that film room, everybody's going crazy about that turnover and celebrating your moment. That's your turnover chain. That's been the turnover chain.
It served its purpose, right? I mean, I think when Manny Diaz was here and they had that great season, he was the defensive coordinator. It made sense because they were having fun. They were winning a bunch of games. But, it's one of those things where everything has its due course, right? It kind of served its purpose at the time, and then it just kind of became pathetic. And I think Mario, you asked me this right when he got the job, what do I think happens with the turnover chain? And I told you, I said, I don't think Mario's going to stand for any of that stuff, right? And sure enough, they kind of quietly discarded it, right? I mean, it is one of those things where we knew over time it was just going to disappear.
By the way, he was very what's it called? Strategic in the way he addressed it, because he didn't insult it. He was just kind of like, "Hey, no, this is not part of our culture. We're moving on. It's we're turning the. He didn't diss it like by saying, no, I think that thing is ridiculous and we should have never had it. He didn't do any of that. He just, hey, we're turning the page and it's over.
Yeah, and I think that's the way to go about it, right? I mean, you don't want to dwell on it too much. And I think, there's a certain level of respect for what Manny Diaz did here, at least in part with people in the administration. Like I was telling you all along, if Mario doesn't want the job or doesn't believe in it, Manny Diaz is still the coach this year. So I think in some respects, you know, he said a lot of things that have kind of been demeaning a little bit to Manny, right? When you talk about no slogans, no T-shirts, no hashtags, all that kind of stuff. But I think when it came to this, I don't think he wanted to kind of stain, you know, what the turnover chain meant, because at one point it did mean something to these guys. So I think he handled it the right way, and the conversation turned to football and the upcoming season, the start of practice on August 5th.
Yeah, no, I love that, man, because I just think it's a selfish moment when things aren't going well. Sure, it's fun when everything's going well and you're winning, and that's fantastic, great. But when you're losing, there should be no turnover chain. Hell, let me tell you something. That program's got to get back to earning the right to run through the smoke. Yeah. I mean, seriously. There are times where I'm watching him run through the smoke. I'm like, you guys are too sorry to run through the smoke. You know what I mean? And that's something that I think has been happening for 15 plus years now. Too many of these kids got here and they thought they had arrived and they had accomplished something when, yo, dude, you're living off of Michael Barrow.
Yeah.
You're living off of Ken Dorsey, bro. You're living off of Greg Olson, bro. You're not living off of anything that you guys accomplished, because you haven't accomplished anything. You guys don't win. You don't win anything. And so these are things that, you know, you got to get back to the right to be that kind of person, that you celebrate those kind of moments, because you got to get back to being that kind of a program. And I think that's why I thought his answer was also when he says, hey, we're about hard work. We're about toughness. He started describing the adjectives of what he hopes to, you know, obviously create in the image of his Canes.
There's no question. I think, you know, Randy Shannon said this when he first got the job. He told this a couple of us beat writers that were around is, you know, when he recruits these kids, he's got to deprogram them, right? Like once they get in the door, they got to stop thinking that they're great, that they have to work for it. And that's the psychology, I think, of today's successful coaches, right? Nick Saban does that. He recruits unbelievably talented players, but when he gets to Alabama, some of them don't fit, right? He's had to discard of a few of his 5 stars that have come. I think Mario essentially has to do the same, obviously, here with less talent. I mean, they don't have the Alabama players. He's starting to recruit the Alabama caliber players. But there is a certain mentality, and you know, you look back to last season, you know, 3 losses by basically 8 points or less, and games that they could have won, right? I mean, the FSU game sticks out like a sore thumb towards the end of the season.
Yep.
You know, there are other games early in the year. So this is a team that, in my mind, isn't that far away from being a double-digit win team with the right kind of coaching, the right kind of tackling, and the right kind of mentality. And so discarding of the turnover chain and basically coming in and I don't want to call it brainwashing, but essentially that's what it is, right? You're trying to psych guys up to be a certain way. And I think he's done it. I think he's got a lot of buy-in. I think all of his players believe in what he's doing, and now he's just got to go out and win. And really, in my mind, not lose the games that you know you're not supposed to lose. I think if he can avoid those pitfalls, then I think there's going to be complete buy-in. It's just a matter of time before Miami's contending for the ACC title and you know, going to the playoffs.
And listen, I wouldn't call it brainwashing. I would call it, these are the demands. These are the requirements to do this job. And so when you step into the FBI, there are requirements. Right. If you're going to work at this law office, there are requirements. If you're going to be a judge, if you're going to be a police officer, there are requirements. There are sacrifices. There are things that you have to do. I wouldn't call it brainwashing. I would call it, hey man, this is the next step and the evolution of your development. It's different when you're working for the school newspaper in college than when you move up to the Gainesville Sun, or you move up to the Miami Herald, or you move up to whatever newspaper in this damn country. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of, hey man, grow up. This is what it's required to be at this level. And when you get to the next level, it becomes even more brutal. You know what I mean? Yeah. So get ready, because if you think your college coach was brutal, oh my God, wait till you get to the NFL, where they clearly tell you where you stand. You know what I mean? And they have no problems telling you what's required to be a part of this level here.
Well, and I think that's why he sort of adopted this whole thing of bringing the former players back and having them around, so that, you know, it's not just his voice, but others, right? Other guys that can sort of echo that message that, to get to where you really want to go in this profession, right, of playing professional football, you've got to have a certain mentality. You got to have a certain way about you to get there and to have success. So that's what he's adopting. And that's really a lot of what this first year is about, is just laying that foundation and then trying to maximize what he has here. People are saying, oh, Miami's going to be the pick. And I did pick them to win the division this year. I just think Pittsburgh losing its quarterback and the coordinator and their number one receiver. I mean, look, they still have a very good team, and that's a game Miami could lose at the end of the season and potentially bump them from the ACC championship game. But I think this team is good enough as is, with the pickups that they made in the transfer portal, especially in the defensive line, to win the division and get to the ACC championship game. But let's not fool ourselves either. It's not like the roster makeover has completely changed this team, and all of a sudden, they're a national. I know some people said, oh, they're a sleeper to win the national. I mean, listen, if you look at that offensive line, you look at that defensive line, you look at those linebackers, that's not a national championship team. Mario's trying to fix that. It requires great recruiting, and so they're still a ways away. But I definitely think they're good enough to win the division this year, and getting that kind of praise. Some of their individual guys like Tyler Van Dyke, like a James Williams, those guys have talent. They can be NFL players. So, but I think we also, this is the time of year when everybody sort of tunes in again, right? Like, what happened? What did they do in the offseason, right? The general fan who doesn't pay attention to the everyday activities. Well, it's not like this roster has been completely made over. And that's something I think important for people to remember as we go into the season. There are guys that have to get better that weren't very good last year. And so let's see how Mario and that staff that's making a whole lot of money do here once training camp starts, and how these guys progress. In those first couple of weeks of the season are going to be very telling.
I'm with you there. They definitely will be very telling. There is some talk that the recruiting that's coming up might be even more impressive overall. What are you hearing about some of the players that they're targeting?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's interesting because there were kids that were supposed to be making announcements here in the coming days that I think have pushed back. Jaden Bonds, who was a 4-star safety out of Jersey, we've talked about him on the show before. Oh, he's potentially announcing tomorrow. We still don't know if you have pushed it back any further. Malik Bryan, a 4-star linebacker out of the Orlando area, he's another kid who's supposed to be in Miami's class. He hasn't announced yet. He may be pushing his thing back tomorrow as well, from what I've heard earlier this week. So we'll see when that wave comes. But there are guys. I mean, there's Ruben Bain, who Miami is hot and heavy after. He's from Miami Central, 4-star kid. You got Samson Okunlola, the 5-star offensive tackle. So, they're a top 10 recruiting class right now. And they've got, a lot of great players committed. But the announcements and when things are announced and all that kind of stuff, it's really up to the kids. It's really up to when they want to do it. And so I know that there was supposed to be some plan this weekend, but there's a chance it could get pushed back into next week or the week after.
Interesting, man, because that man doesn't stop, and they continue to just pick up players left and right, man. It's just flat out impressive what's gone on. All right, how you wrapping up your vacation? You working on anything this weekend, or it doesn't start till next week again for you?
Well, I'll be driving back tomorrow, which it's a long drive from up here in the mountains in Georgia. It's about 11 hours combined when you stop for gas and everything else. So I will be back at work on Tuesday. I got a doctor's appointment Monday. I got a couple of things going on, man. Before
did you get a third mortgage for the gas prices?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a little bit cheaper up here, actually, on the way up here. It's really? Under $4. So a little bit of a gas break, I guess, in some areas.
Wow. Under $4? That's like a bargain, bro.
Yeah, I think I paid like $3.60 something for gas, and I was freaking out. I was like, wow, I remember when gas was $3.60.
Yeah.
So yeah, it hasn't been as rough up here, but certainly on the way back, yeah, you got to fill it up twice at least, just to get back home. So I will be back at work next week. There will be articles coming out again. There will be podcasts. There will be all kinds of things. But what I would tell Canes fans is let's see how Zion Nelson is, because he came out in a photo. He was a little nicked up, wearing a brace. Mario, I know, addressed that yesterday, saying that he should be fine for the start of camp. But these off-season workouts, these off-season, injuries that are sort of kept under wrap. We all show up the first day of practice and start taking attendance, and we're like, okay, where's this guy? Where's that guy? So I would expect that that on August 5th, that Friday, we'll all be out there tweeting up a storm, telling you guys who's out, who, kind of what's going on from a personnel perspective. But outside of that, man, I mean, the talking season. I've done it for so long. I kind of get nauseated because it's the same quotes regurgitated 800 times. We're focused, we're excited, all those kind of things. I want to see these guys practice, man.
A little different, okay? I just, the reason why I feel a little different here, it's because, like, I didn't believe in Al Golden, and I didn't believe in Manny Diaz. Yeah. Like, after the first year, I'm looking at Manny Diaz, I'm going, and listen, to go back to the beginning of your conversation, that there's a lot of respect for what Manny Diaz did. We should give him praise and a little love because he meant well. He worked his ass off. He did the best he could. He just wasn't prepared to take it at this level. He should have stayed in tempo, actually. In hindsight, that's probably where he needed to start. Just like Mario, dude.
Yeah.
Like Mario went to FI freaking U, dude. And then went to Alabama to then go to Oregon to then come here. He was well-groomed to then come back here. And that was the problem. Al Golden wasn't well-groomed. Diaz wasn't well-groomed. Coker was an assistant coach. So he never, Coker did a fantastic job with what he took over, what he inherited. But then what he then laid out after that, it's the same thing with Dennis Erickson. Dennis was a great X's and O's coach. He just could not maintain it. That was his problem. As a custodian, that's where he failed, because he did great when he picked up Jimmy's players in the first 3 years. He won those 2 titles. But then after that, after his players took over, it went downhill. And so you lost confidence in Eric. You lost confidence in Coker. Never had confidence in Randy. Never had confidence in Al Golden, and never had confidence in Diaz. I got confidence in Cristobal. I just feel like this dude is competent. Like, he knows what the hell he's doing. I watched him at Oregon. Now, he has not, as a coach, accomplished what you need to accomplish at the University of Miami in Oregon.
Right.
Which is a lot easier to do in Oregon than it is at the University of Miami. So there is still a challenge for Mario, for himself personally, and for obviously the UM fan base. But for the time being, this is different only because the impressions right from the get-go, it's like this guy knows what the hell he's doing by bringing the people together and everything else, and motivating this school to finally, spend some money too.
Yeah, I mean, nobody else comes here, at least in the last 20, 25 years, with the kind of resume he does. I mean, Mark Richt essentially was at the end of his career.
Right.
Yeah. We knew this was kind of his last spot, but Mario's in his prime. He's 51 years old. He's exactly, to me, this is like a Jimmy Johnson type of rival in my mind.
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of what it is. And Jimmy won, obviously, at Oklahoma State before he came over here. He just couldn't get over the Oklahoma hump, and he came here and he won with Miami's players.
By the way, same thing. He was getting his ass kicked by Oklahoma.
Right.
But he got groomed there. So by the time he got here, he was running Oklahoma State. So that's the good thing. And you and I have talked about this. You're going to get a different player on average at Miami than you are at Oregon. You're going to get the kind of players you need at Miami in order to beat the Alabamas. At Oregon, it's so much harder to build up those kind of players and that kind of.
No, it is. And look, he did a great job recruiting over there, and people criticize, hey, he still lost some games he shouldn't have. Every coach does. Every coach. I mean, you think of Jimmy, right? That second season, what did he go, 8-5? That second year in '85 with that group, and he still had tremendously talented players. So there are going to be years where maybe you don't perform the level you want to. But the point is here that Mario has come in. He's experienced. He's different than other head coaches. There's money supporting him in ways that have never been here before. So Miami is better prepared for the future of competing for championships in college football. But I'll tell you, I want to see how he develops these guys. I want to see these players that he inherited from Manny Diaz perform at a much higher level than they did last year. And I think, Manny deserves credit for that 2020 class where he recruited some good players and got them to come here. James Williams, etc., Cameron Kitchens, all those guys that on the defensive side that I think are going to be big time players here in the years to come. But they got to go out there and they got to do it we've got to see better execution on both sides of the ball, tackling, blocking, all those things. Mario does that. I think, Miami's future is going to be very bright, and they'll be contending for ACC championship. If they don't get better, woof, the firestorm, brother. The firestorm of complaints we're going to hear if this team doesn't look better than last year. I'll tell you that.
Oh, there's no doubt. By the way, Sat Down South on Twitter just sent out opening statement word count by each coach in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
So Leia, 2,340 for Vanderbilt. Beamer, 2,185 for Carolina. Smart, 1,438 for Georgia. Pittman, 1,379 for Arkansas. Saban, 1,339 for Alabama. Stoops, 1,296 for Kentucky. Drinkwitz, 1,196 words for Missouri. Heupel, 1,147 for Tennessee. Napier for Florida, 1,131. Harshen for Auburn, 886. Jimbo Fisher for Texas A&M, 493. Kelly for LSU, 343. I wonder if he did it in a Southern accent. Anyway, Kiffin, 219 for Ole Miss. And Mike Leach, 7 words to opening statements for Mississippi State.
Yeah. No nonsense dude, brother. By the way, Leach had a good idea. I don't know if you saw his interview. He was on the Feinbaum show.
Before that, can you confirm that he went to his UM interview in a Hawaiian shirt and sandals?
Yes.
Reeking of alcohol.
Yes, absolutely. Came straight from the Keys like that. Okay. No, I don't know if you heard, not to carry on the conversation too much more, because I know you probably got to go, but Leach was on the Feinbaum show and he mentioned the idea of, obviously there's a report coming out that they want to change the 1 year, transfer, the one-time transfer.
Yeah. To keep you can transfer as much as possible. Yes.
Right. They want to change that. And Leach came up with a good idea. He said, look, one way that you can combat this as a university, right, with NIL and all that other kind of stuff, is the kids who stay all 4 years and graduate get $150,000 after they graduate.
There you go.
That's a good motivator, right?
Yeah, that's a good motivator, unless you're the Alabama QB who's making $1 million, or you're Tyler Van Dyke, which $150,000 ain't shit. Right, you make that every 2 months from some sponsor. You know what I'm saying?
But
those are the key players that can then, you know what I mean. And by the way, that is the most dangerous thing in the world. That now you're going to give them the freedom of just, these kids change their minds every 2 minutes, dude. That. They're going to be able to just. So, are we going to call it the Stephen Blake rule?
Well, it basically.
That's what I tweeted out when I saw that yesterday from one of the writers. I said, "Let's just call it the Stephen Blake rule," because I explained it yesterday. He was a Killian kid that went to Miami Lakes to play with Corciani and all those guys, right? Or Rudy Bird and Sean Glass, all that. Then he went to Miami High, and then he went to Oak Hill Academy in Virginia. I mean, Stephen Blake was the ultimate free agent in high school. You know what I mean? So call it the Stephen Blake rule, dude.
Well, I think, for the college programs that are complaining, how do we compete? This is a perfect, right? You can go to your donors and the people who are giving money to university. Hey, we have a graduation pot. And every year these kids graduate, they go for all 4 years, they stick around, they get the $150,000, they transfer, they're not eligible for it. I think that's probably the best counter to this. And look, $150,000, right, to graduate and stay at your school. I think there's a lot of kids who would take that. It's a great start in life, right?
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Hell yeah, man.
So you got to give Leach credit for that. Good idea.
There'll be a couple of those elite players,
right, that still move no matter what.
Yeah, they'll move because they're making way more money than that, and there'll be a booster saying, "No, I'll give you the 150. You come on over. All you got to do is show up at our business and say, hey, call us, and we'll give you 150. So yeah, I just think there'll be ways around that. That's the problem. You'll get a lot of the rest of the players, but some of those specific stars, they may not go for that. All right, what are you working on the Athletic there, Slacker, out in the log cabin?
Well, there will be a podcast and there'll be plenty of my thoughts. I'll have a column sort of previewing the season and what I think is important for us to focus on as practice begins. And just some of my thoughts coming off of ACC Media Day and some of the stuff I've been reading that Cristobal and company were saying. So there will be all of that next week when I'm back home.
Beautiful. All right, follow him on Twitter, Manny_Navarro, and catch his work as always right here, doing it every week with our Canes Wear Miami Hurricanes report, and subscribe to The Athletic and support him every single month like I do. Manny, as always, thank you, my brother. We will catch up next week, my friend.
Sounds good, man. Take care.
Drive safely. You got it. There you go. Manny Navarro in our Canes Wear Miami Hurricanes report.